Why have political parties signed the Charter on Elections Ethics? What can be done to ensure that the upcoming local government elections are free and fair? How are politicians expected to conduct themselves during the electioneering period? And what lessons can be learned from yesterday's violence and chaos in Parliament? What time is it? It's question time. Welcome to the show. My name is Moral. Political parties represented in Parliament signed the Electoral Code of Conduct at Gallagher Estate in Midrand on Monday. These parties pledged to uphold the Electoral Code during electioneering period. Early last month, the Moral Regeneration Movement brought political parties contesting for the upcoming local government elections together to commit to the upholding of good values and ethics. The gathering took place at the Constitution Hill. Meanwhile, the conduct of the members of Parliament has come under the spotlight. This after the chaos that ensued after members of the EFF were forcibly removed from the National Assembly yesterday. We are live, and therefore you can call us and air your views. The number to dial 089-110-4210, 089-110-4210. Our Twitter handle at QuestionTime24. My guest today, Seth Mazibuko, is the Chief Operating Officer at the Moral Regeneration Movement, a veteran of the struggle. And by the way, we had extended an invitation to the IEC, but they can't make it. We had also invited the Electoral Court, who said their presence on Question Time may jeopardize their objectivity, and they would rather wait for cases to come to them as opposed to talking to us. We are live. Give us a call and let's talk to Seth Mazibuko. Thank you very much.
Good to see you again.
Yeah. Can't believe it.
Yes.
We'll talk about 40 years of June 16 later, not now.
Please, this is Moral Regeneration time.
Yeah. Here you are. You've got political parties saying, we pledge to abide by the rules and, good conduct and all the niceties. Yet, the DA complains our posters were removed in the Free State. The EFF, our posters were removed in whatever area. The ANC, our posters were removed by members of a particular organization. What was the purpose of getting them to sign onto this?
Number one, not only did they sign, some of the very principles and the values and the ethics that were developed in that charter were actually coming from them.
Okay.
This was a process whereby, it took Moral Regeneration Movement time to even visit parties, speak to the chief whips in Parliament, and we did not only do that, called them into a workshop where we went through all the principles that are sitting here that are directed at the political parties. Let me just divert a bit. The charter is not only addressing issues political parties related. It also addresses you, the voter.
Okay.
It also addresses ethics in as far as media is concerned. Take it even higher. Even addresses issues IEC.
Okay.
So the charter is not only bringing in to point a finger at political parties, but let me come back to your question. Why now are political parties having the chaos they are in? I can tell you here and now that it is after, for instance, the war language that we have heard, which sits as one of those unethical practices. It took, again, the Moral Regeneration Movement to write to the parties and say, your language is against us. Your language is more of that can cause or that is instigating. Please soften your language. Not only did we write to them, we also sought a meeting with these parties to discuss that issue. This is a letter that was written on the 28th of April. That was just about 2 weeks after they've signed.
Who is the letter going to?
Don't be naughty, young man.
Okay.
Let me not reveal that.
Okay.
But let me just say there were parties that were requested to respond on some of the statements that were quite a war statement. Up until we sit down and we discuss with those parties and come to some decisions, I'm not prepared to reveal who those are.
All right.
Take it further. When the parties were signing the charter, each party was asked to make a statement on the charter and on the signing. I promise you, not a single one party said I feel uncomfortable with clause 6 of what is referred to as the principle of the charter.
Yes.
Everybody was saying we're waiting for this. And as MRN, we're not taking this issue of the charter very light. We know that we're going to run around. We know that this is one election that is also surrounded by a lot of court cases, a lot of who has done. It's hot. This is the hottest of them all. That is why we had to do this. And let me also be quick to say, the charter deals more with politicians and voters' heart and head. And the hands, the actual technical side comes from IEC.
Yes.
Now, it is our duty to observe and to look at what is happening and act. And we have done that thus far very well.
Are you happy with what you have seen so far? Are you happy with what political parties are doing or are saying?
We are told by our researchers, by the way, also some institutions of higher learning to actually observe with us and report to us. And let me tell you, we are told that now, if there wasn't this charter, maybe we would have been expecting worse than what happened in Parliament yesterday.
Now, what happens in the event where, I'm sure the charter does allow for, equitable coverage of parties, also, tell the story fairly, without prejudice to the other. Are we protected as journalists?
That is what I was saying. There's a clause on journalists, what we call the message to journalists.
Yeah.
It has got about 5 points of values or ethics that are directed to you as journalists. And protection of journalists cannot be our duty, but what we are saying to you as journalists is that please report right. Please report in such a way that you don't instigate violence.
Okay. Opa, you are in Messina, or Musina rather.
Yes, nditotoma kha zvezvoita muroba pana mideli zva EFF ndikuona uri favora pandaro EFF zvinga ngari avatonisi pfanelo dzavathu vavakhetha nauri futi zvazvo sashango saAfrica Chitembe rikuuya ngapi ndangira ine vakuita zvito ngazvo zvinga ngari kamusika kumuri South Africa livingana liwina zinto zabathulapo so ndibona ngathi azithu zizokuthi ndizwakude rine roboporo ari kumela marawu nyarakopha one khaba range phanda ngathumbu athi bala bakuseleshe ngizino bathungusenga dzindo abaranga example.
Opa, well, I'll have to translate
Please
this for you.
That.
Opa is calling us from Musina. He's saying he condemns what happened in Parliament yesterday. And he's saying, well, they said they wanted to lead. Let them lead, not fight in the manner that they were in Parliament. I'm not so sure if that really falls under the charter, but yes, we are already in...
But I can answer that one.
Okay, go ahead.
Again, just after that incident yesterday, there's a letter we are requesting a meeting with the Speaker of Parliament.
Yes.
About the chaos that is happening in Parliament now lately, because that in itself is very unethical.
But who are you to call on the Speaker, MRM?
We are the civil society, we are the people on the ground. We are going to be there as long as our society is as long as the morals of our society are still something to look after.
So what are you worried about yesterday's
We're
incident?
very worried. We cannot have it has never happened. Apartheid even now, to have in Parliament the situation that was happening. Not only yesterday. Yesterday has been a build-up of so many other things. There are courts in this country. There's a constitution in this country. There are values in this country that you can use if you feel that, really, whatever you see happening there, it's like, I don't know, I can't, if I tell any person here and abroad and say, that was in Parliament.
Yes.
This is denting our country.
No, but this happens in other parliaments. Come on now.
Should we copy what is bad from other parliaments? Why can't we copy something good that happens in other? Why should we always want to copy bad? Is it? Then I agree with Thabo Mbeki. Why do we want to make out of South Africa? We want to take all Africa. We want to take all the bad examples and be associated with South Africa or with Africa. My point here is there is nothing good about what happened yesterday, whether it happens in heaven or in hell, and we cannot learn anything good about it.
Mutsi Tladi, you are in Durban.
Hello, how are you?
I'm well. Thanks for the call, Mutsi.
Yeah, I comment on regarding what you said now. This thing is like, for me, the ruling party as the ANC, you have to take a responsibility on the basis of taking out the president, because remember, they took it, what you call it, when the public accused, took him out from the parliament. So, like now, this opposition party, they're only sticking on the one thing, which is, it doesn't add Gaza on everything. It is the president that is breaking the rules. That's cost of violation. So, in case of that to be solved,
Mutsitladi, I'm sorry, Mutsitladi, I'm sorry, I have to really move on. I'm battling to hear you very clearly there, but I could hear that you're saying the ANC needs to take full responsibility of what has happened. What is your approach there, SMRM?
No. It's not the ANC that has got to take full responsibility. It's the people of South Africa that have got to take responsibility. It is all the parties that are in parliament that have got to take all the responsibility. As MRM, for instance, as we're moving towards elections, we have discovered that now some of what is happening in leadership affects what is happening by followers. So it is all the leaders. If it is rotten in the head, what happens to the tail?
Okay.
So what we are saying as MRM, and we have come up with a program that now we are going to be implementing immediately after elections, called ethical and values-driven leadership. Because that is where we've got to let people lead by example.
Hold it there. We're going to take a quick break. A reminder that you can call us and air your views. The numbers to dial is 089-1104-210. Our Twitter handle @QuestionTime24. We shall return.
One other person has been shot dead and another is in a critical condition in hospital.
The CRL has laid charges against controversial televangelist Paseka Motsoeneng.
More than 1.3 million South Africans have been added in the past two registration weekends.
The International Monetary Fund warns that policy uncertainty could dampen economic growth in South Africa.
And all eyes are on the new Bok coach, Alistair Coetzee. He's challenged to keep everyone in the country happy.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. My guest, Seth Masbuga, is the Chief Operating Officer at the Moral Regeneration Movement. Now, it's going to be hot. These elections have never been fought at this temper in South Africa. What do you expect?
As I said earlier on, that when we actually went into the signing ceremony with political parties, and we realized that this is going to be the hottest of the elections we've ever had in South Africa. And we wouldn't be surprised even to have an AWB incident in CODESA in Captain Park, where people drive in trucks in that negotiating table.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised to have that. But the point is, how ready are we as the Moral Regeneration Movement? We've just, after the signing of the Code of Conduct yesterday, we are calling a meeting between ourselves as Moral Regeneration, SALGA, South African Local Government Association, who's our partner, and IEC, to then say, how do we get ourselves, we are also calling the security of the country. We're also talking with different departments, saying, how do we then prepare ourselves for the heat?
Okay.
What are the plans that we need to put in place for the heat? And it is very important that as we're dealing with issues of values and ethics, IEC deal with the issues of conduct and all that. And we are saying, how do we put our efforts together to try and make it a point that whilst it is hot, at least it doesn't kill our people, it doesn't kill our integrity, it doesn't kill the dignity of our country and of our democracy.
Marius Emalahleni.
urina.
Riona Busangeyo.
Anerona.
Da.
Ya mnezine abongolani bako ngatele bako zibenga ndichikotwambira khasi na mafungo azuzwe ya parliament ni muro.
Yes.
Net kuyenda bona unachoka ke awa kuna beti. Utote zvinezvokuitia ndizvori a ruling party ndiyona ineko teichinja mindset. They have to understand uri zvinezvokuitia zvazvino it's about our president.
Okay.
Vozuma zvakudhudhi vamwe muthu vote vakotoresigna ngori zvikuisa panda no embarrassa this country.
Correct. Marius, thank you very much. Well, once again, I'll do the translation.
Okay.
Marius says he sees nothing wrong with what happened in Parliament yesterday. And in fact, President Zuma is the one who must be held responsible for what happened there.
We have become in this country so comfortable with chaos, confusion, and carelessness in everything that we don't even see it when it happens. There is no one who can say what happened yesterday, there's nothing wrong about it. Please put on your thinking cap. I mean, really. I mean, it's like a person who's got a child dying of nyaupe and said, don't see anything wrong with my child dying of nyaupe, but maybe there's something wrong with me, the father. That cannot be. We need, as this country now, to really start using both our hearts and heads for whatever we're doing. And if we are a country that has so much accepted unethical practices and confusion that we're seeing on screen now, we have accepted so much, we become so comfortable with it that we see nothing wrong in it, then we need some form of a bigger moral regeneration maybe, because that is where our problem is that we cannot allow this country to be degenerate into what happened in Parliament yesterday. And that can be sign also of what can happen when people are going in queues for elections. And that's where our fears are at this point in time, is that what happened yesterday could be translated into the queues to the voting stations. It could be translated into debates and discussions that are going on now as we are going towards elections. And that, my fellow South Africans, is handling our democracy with dirty hands. And I am calling upon South Africans, I might be too quick to say that, but I'm calling on all South Africans that let us not handle this freedom that was bought by blood, handled so dirty.
Elliot, you are in Taung.
Yes.
Welcome.
Yes, how are you, sir?
I'm well. Thanks for the call, Elliot.
All right, man. Listen, I think the president must take a full responsible for that, man. Because the president, he can't control the country. I mean, how can people do such thing like that? And then I hear Mr. Mazibuko say the people of Africa must take the full responsibility. When we talk about the people of Africa, who is that people of Africa? Because this is South Africa. This has happened in South Africa. So first of all, the president needs to get rid of Ms. Balekambete because he's not suitable for that position. He can't control the parliament. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Elliot. Well,
I'm going to be quick on that one. Yes, the president of the country is the CEO of the country. And when I spoke about the people of Africa, it is when you were asking a question, then I said to you, we cannot be associated with chaos. There's a mentality in people that if it happens in Africa, it's chaotic, it's confusion and all. We cannot allow that kind of a tag being put on Africa. And South Africa is Africa, by the way. And then that must be told.
Yeah.
And then we must never think South Africa is some European Africa. And what is happening in Parliament is very important that, yes, leadership must take full responsibility. And one of those people in the leadership who must take full responsibility is the president. Is the deputy president, is the speaker of parliament, political leaders, all the leaders of those parties, is Julius Malema. He's supposed to take full responsibility. It is my money, DA. They're supposed to take full responsibility. There are channels, there are institutions in this country that some of them might be undermined. I agree that they might be undermined. But the truth of the matter, let them be exhausted. There was a statement made. If the court rejects us, then we'll take another action, quote unquote, you know who. But the point I'm making is that now, if the court speaks for us and we accept and clap hands about that, let us also take when the court speaks against us.
What's the difference between Seth Mazibuko in 1976 and Julius Malema in 2016?
That's a question I'm going to be asked in June 16. But I know that's a question that is going to come up.
Yeah.
But let me just tell you something. I have a problem with that kind of a question, and I've said it in many interviews such as this. I belong to the class that was not the hashtag bring fees down, what is this the end?
Yeah,
fees must fall hashtag.
Yeah.
I belong to the class that, I always say this to young people in particular, I was a Seth Mazibuko who you'd compare into an oven. The Julius Malemas and their microwaves. So the era of the oven and the era of the microwave are totally different microwaves. How we fought the struggle of 1976 and how people fight the struggle of 2016 is totally different. But sitting in the middle of it, it should be discipline, it should be integrity, it should, that we bend, hold on your screen. We had to bend down some of the institutions those days of the apartheid system. But I say to people, we were throwing stones against apartheid. And young people today must be gathering stones for the reconstruction and development of our democracy, of our country, and of Africa. We need the gathering of stones now. We don't need the throwing of stones anymore. That's the message. That's the difference. I was a stone thrower. He is supposed to be a stone gatherer for the reconstruction and development of our country and, of course, of our beautiful Africa. That's the challenge. And when we do it, let's do it with integrity. When we do it, let's do it with respect. I'm not saying he doesn't do it with respect and integrity, but the point I'm making, stone gathering is more difficult than stone throwing. I know the tensions that can go into stone gathering because you're having stones that are scattered all over. Then there must be a way in which we do it. So the difference between Julius Malema and Seth Mazibuko of 1976, Julius Malema is a stone gatherer. Seth Mazibuko was a stone thrower in 1976, and that era has passed. And Seth Mazibuko, that time, you understand what I'm saying? Watered the tree of liberation of this country with my blood. And people who are leading now should not water that same tree with their blood, but with their sweat.
Seth Mazibuko.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the time.
Brother. Thank you.
That was question time for today. A big thank you to my guest and to you for watching the show. From me and the crew, you have yourself a wonderful time. Goodbye.
In Africa, technology has created many new ways of doing things.
ICT is an increasingly important part of everybody's life.
It's being used in education, for social media, and now for farming too.
The best thing about internet for a farmer that we get to share information.
On Network, we give you all the important African technology and social media news. That's Network with me, Spumelele Zondi, every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Central African Time, only on SABC News.
I live here. I used to sell drugs in this passage. I used to smoke my joint here on this thing every morning, on this seat here. I would sit here in front and watch life go past me.
Since his own dreams of being a soccer player were shattered by his then alcoholic father, little did Delano Aya, a 26-year-old from Eldorado Park in Johannesburg, know that he would one day help many other young boys around his community realize their dreams. Delano never thought his own father would deny him of his dreams.
I had a dream to become the greatest footballer in the world.